season finales. In the 2023 AFC Championship, remember that was a home game against the Chiefs. Zay Flowers fumbled at the goal line in the fourth quarter with a chance to trim the deficit to 3 points. Last season, they went to Buffalo, came all the way back, and then a potential game-tying 2-point conversion with 93 seconds left was dropped by Mark Andrews. That was in the divisional round, lost to the Bills. And then Sunday night, the classic game against the Steelers, Tyler Luke missing a potential game-winning field goal as time expired. That was a winner-take-all game against the Steelers for the AFC North. John Harbaugh, as we mentioned, out in Baltimore. New on NFL Live, his brother, Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh, was asked about that today.
John Harbaugh is the best coach I know, best coach I've ever seen. You may say, okay, well, I'm his brother, so I might be biased, but it's so cool to see all my brother's accomplishments, you know, and be recognized for that. And I just, as I told him, whatever team he goes to is going to be formidable, and I just hope it's in the NFC.
A lot of love there between the Harbaugh brothers, as Adam Schefter well knows. Adam, let's get into some top stories. Let's stay in Baltimore. What more can you tell us about the Ravens' decision there to move on from John Harbaugh?
They just felt like it was time to head into a new era. And essentially, they're going to be looking for a new head coach. John Harbaugh is going to be out looking for a new job. He is going to be the belle of the ball here. And I would not be surprised if he doesn't interview for any jobs until the start of next week. Take a few days, process what's happened in Baltimore, think about what's next. But I do expect that he will want to coach next season. He just may wait until next week. Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski interviewing today for the New York Giants job. He's got interest from the Tennessee Titans, from the Atlanta Falcons, but he has spent today with Giants officials where I'm told it was a productive meeting, and he would be obviously a lead candidate in New York, certainly depending on what happens with John Harbaugh. And the Atlanta Falcons head coaching search is underway as well. They're looking at a group of candidates that include Kevin Stefanski, Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, the Seahawks offensive coordinator, and there will be other names depending on who they hire as the general manager. Again, many people expect that Matt Ryan will be the president of football. There'll be a general manager. Ian Cunningham of the Chicago Bears is interviewing for that job and considered a favorite. And then we'll see if and when those two hires are made, where those men decide to go for head coach.
The annual coaching carousel just starting to spin, as it always does this week. And as he always does, Adam will have the latest for us throughout the process. But back to this weekend's action. The 49ers are heading to Philly. Running back Christian McCaffrey finished with over 900 receiving yards this season. It's the second time he's done that, and that makes him just the third running back in NFL history with multiple seasons with at least 900 receiving yards. Joining Hall of Famers Lenny Moore, who had Johnny Unitas throwing to him, and Marshall Faulk. During the alt-cast of the 49ers-Colts Monday Night Football matchup, Luke Kuechly spoke about how hard it is as a linebacker to defend CMC.
Here we go with Christian right here. If you're Jermaine Pratt, you need to step up and go meet him at that goal line. We always talked about, hey, if you're deep in the end zone and they turn around and catch that ball, it's a touchdown. So go attack him, cut an angle off, make him go one way. If he's got a two-way go, Christian's so talented, it's easy for him to uncover.
Dano, what should Vic Fangio and the Eagles' defense game plan be against McCaffrey?
I don't know. I think that's the challenge. Fangio's great, and that's why we wanted to use that Luke clip, because I thought it was interesting to hear Luke. That what he said, and Field was with me, was I would rather be, as a linebacker, closer to him than further from him. And so it just was interesting to hear him talk about the fear of being too far away from McCaffrey in the pass game, because he said, listen, if I'm too far away from him and he makes the catch, that's the worst place I can be because he's so good. And so it'll be interesting to watch Philadelphia plan-wise with Vic Fangio, their defense coordinator. Who does he deploy to tackle him or to cover him? And remember, Philly certainly is like a zone-centric defense, but once again, it's that match where that person from an offensive perspective, you get close to the defender, it becomes a man type of concept. So is it going to be Nakobe Dean? Is it going to be Cooper DeJean? Because if you have Cooper DeJean do it, is it going to be Jihad Campbell? Because if Cooper DeJean covers him, then who covers Kittle?
Right.
I just think that's the the presentation that would just be very interesting to watch. They covered James Cook a couple weeks ago, who's a good pass-catching back. He's not Christian, with Campbell a lot. I want to see if they do that with McCaffrey.
And I think, to your point, I mean, what I'm looking at is Ricky Pearsall, whether he plays or not, because I think this is paramount for the 49ers, because if he's not in the lineup, it makes that job a lot easier for Vic Fangio. Now, with Ricky out, like, yeah, you got Jennings, yes, you have Bourne, they're more physical, 50-50 catch ball guys, but you don't have a separator. You don't have a man beater, a guy that can get down the field, flip his hips, get out, and provide these really clear throws for your quarterback. You saw them struggle against the Seahawks because they did not have this element. They didn't have this element where things didn't need to be perfect execution. You see them off the line. You see free releases against cover 2, which puts this safety in turmoil, wide and create a window.
That's a great route.
Find a seam for this quarterback to have really easy throws. And we talked about this with Pearsall earlier in the season. His ability to get into breaks and get out of breaks with speed. He almost loses no speed, and this makes it no thinking for Brock Purdy. Without that in the lineup, it just makes it hard. It makes them have perfect execution. It makes those margin of errors for those throws a lot smaller, and it makes it easier on Vic Fangio to just smother this offense.
The Niners need to be able to run the football, have some sort of balance on offense on Sunday afternoon. This past weekend, they were totally suffocated by Seattle, and it felt like the offense was on the field for like 15 minutes the entire game. Seattle was able to completely control the clock in that game, and you can imagine that Philadelphia, despite all of their offensive struggles, is going to want to be able to run the football as well. San Francisco is just not good enough defensively to keep a team, even one with as much of an identity crisis as we saw for Philadelphia, off the scoreboard this year. But last week, the 49ers could not block the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, like the Eagles, have the ability to attack you with just 4 men up front. This is a gigantic challenge for San Francisco to handle this Philly front, which was good already. But since Jalen Phillips arrived via trade, has been unlocked to a whole nother level.
I think Carter, too. I mean, Jalen Carter against Buffalo looked like he did last year.
Since their Week 9 bye, allowing 15.6 points per game. Is Adam Schefter with us now. Adam, what more can you tell us about Baltimore's decision to move on from John Harbaugh?
I know people are looking for some salacious reason, Dan, some reason that Steve Bisciotti would fire John Harbaugh after 18 seasons, but sometimes it's just time. Every NFL coach usually meets a time where the owner grows tired of him. I remember in Denver, Mike Shanahan let go after 14 seasons. He didn't do anything wrong. They just felt like it was time. Also in Denver, John Fox did a great job. Led the Broncos to 3 #1 seeds. They couldn't break through. They felt like it was time to make a change. They brought in Gary Kubiak. They won a Super Bowl. This is what happens. At this particular moment, Steve Bisciotti felt like they needed to freshen it up. It was the right thing to move forward without John Harbaugh, a man who has meant so much to that organization for such a long period of time. Fresh start for the Ravens. Fresh start for John Harbaugh. Everybody goes their own way. And it's exciting and challenging for both sides. John Harbaugh now has to figure out where he's going to go. He obviously, 45 minutes after he was let go, already had heard from 7 teams. 7. So if we're going to do the math, there currently are 7 teams with openings, including the Baltimore Ravens, who just fired him. That would tell you there was at least 1 and more teams, I'm told, that have current acting, sitting head coaches that reached out to John Harbaugh's agent, Brian Harlan, to gauge Harbaugh's interest in coming to that particular city. It changed the dynamics of the coaching search. He now becomes the belle of the ball. Every team is essentially trying to figure out whether they can land John Harbaugh, while the Baltimore Ravens embark on a new chapter, a new era that they hope can get them past the finish line that they've been unable to get past with John Harbaugh at the helm in recent seasons.
No doubt there's not a single candidate on the market that has John Harbaugh's resume. Will be fascinating to see where he ends up. In his first 5 seasons with the Ravens, John Harbaugh had a .675 regular season winning percentage and went 9-4 in the postseason, including a win in Super Bowl 47. Joined Paul Brown as the only coaches in NFL history to win a playoff game in each of their first 5 seasons. But in the 13 seasons since, he's gone 4-7 in the postseason, only reaching 1 AFC championship game. So much to get into here, and we have got the perfect crew to do it. Dan O, Andrew Hawkins, Field Yates, here with you for the hour. Let's get right into it. Hawk, was this the right move for the Ravens?
It was the right move. It was time. Now, listen, Coach Harbaugh could be the #1 candidate for every single opening, and he should be. But to Schefter's point, there comes a time when this relationship runs its course, and you have to ask yourself as an organization, is this the fastest path to a championship, right? That does not mean that Coach Harbaugh is not a great coach. What it means for Coach Steve Bisciotti is he says, okay, I have this generational quarterback who's a 3-time first-team All-Pro QB. Can I get somebody in here that could take advantage of that lightning in the bottle? Because the problem with coaches that have long tenure, no matter how great they are, no matter how much of a CEO, no matter how much of a staple of leadership, all things that Harbaugh is that the messaging, the stories that you tell every day, right? The motivation, you can only go through it so many times where the results don't match before you start to lose the locker room or before people stop believing. And again, Bisciotti made his billions